Thank you. Well, good evening. I'd like to call our Tuesday, August 27th meeting in order. If you guys will please rise and join us in a prayer and the pledge.
If you'll pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we're gathered here again. We're thankful again for these folks that are volunteering their time and their evenings to come and make decisions for the entire city and keeping the goodwill of the city in their minds as they make those decisions. Lord, today I drove down Hadley Street and I looked over and saw the construction of our recreation center, and I couldn't help but think all of the memories and the lives that are going to be changed in that facility, and we know that we're only getting it because you're allowing us to have it. We're so thankful for that opportunity and thankful for the years and years of use that it's going to get and how it's going to change the lives of folks in this community. We thank you for everything that you've given us. We thank you for the beautiful weather, and in your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Lewis.
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem Kennedy.
Here.
Councilwoman Oplinger.
Here.
Councilwoman Pettit.
Here.
Councilman Blades.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. First up is public comment. First speaker is Lisa Renfro. A citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Each citizen is limited to 3 minutes, and the council will not take action or discuss items at this time. Discussion should be limited to matters of city business, and public comment is not permitted in regards to personnel matters or on pending legal matters. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items at a later date. Good evening, Lisa.
Evening. Thank you for listening. I came to talk about the pigeons.
Great.
There's a swarm of like 200 pigeons, and it ruins your appetite to walk over pigeon poop or through pigeon poop to get to the restaurant where you eat. And I talked about Young, and her husband had used peppermint, which was on Facebook, and because it's supposed to discourage all critters. I don't know, she feels like it's working. But could you please buy a power washer and wash our streets, because all of the improvements and everything you want to do downtown, I'd really like to see the pigeon poop removed. And I know Boca Code says if you have an empty building, you're supposed to have plywood over the windows, and they're going in all of those back windows of the McCormick building and other buildings as well.
Well, I think you might be spying on me, because I had about a half-hour conversation with Carrie about pigeons this week. So, and she was already well on top of ahead of me. But actually, we're going to discuss that maybe in the forum just a bit. So,
Thank you.
well-timed comment. Thank you, Lisa. Next up is Kay Pilkington.
So I'm going to speak fast. I've got 3 minutes, but so I may have to come back. Try to read my own writing. The last meeting I was at and talked about our rental house being flooded at the corner of Business 60 and Roosevelt. And then someone brought to my attention after that meeting about a stormwater master plan with different suggested phases by the engineers. And at what stage is the city in with this plan is a question. Because then this affects a lot of the properties, not just ours. Also plays a big part in getting White Park back in shape. White Park is one of the main roads through the middle of town and needs to look its best and does not, which brings me to what got my husband and I's attention last summer, and seeing White Park look so run down. It needs to look its best at all times. You have people coming through town maybe for a class reunion or to visit relatives or to relocate to Aurora, which we try to buy and sell property, and we have rental property, and try to keep it looking good. So it's a first impression. It's right through the middle of town. And how many of you pass through White Park every day? I mean, it's kind of on our way to go to everywhere. You can't be proud of how it looks. which leads me to my next statement after finding out that, that he'd passed a park plan to spend, now correct me if I'm wrong, $1 million maybe at Baldwin Park to build baseball fields and all that. So let's see, I can't read my writing. I think you need to reconsider the plan and not waste $1 million in Baldwin Park and make White Park the first priority. And as I stated at a park board meeting that I listened in on a few months back, that you cannot police Baldwin Park. You're always held up by a train at the tracks. And if there's a train on the tracks and you have an emergency, I mean, you can land a helicopter, because we do have an overpass, but there's also a train track there, and sometimes it is covered with a train. Let's see here. You would need to fence off the perimeter because kids are adventurous and adults too, with the old mines being close out there. And it's not appealing to people to go out there. It's an old toxic dump that's supposedly cleaned up. We'll take it for what it is. Has anybody ever flown over the park out there, Baldwin Park? I did take an issue to fly over Baldwin Park just to kind of get my oars back in the water last year of how close some of those holes were. Probably need to do it in the fall when it's not all grown up. Speaking of flying, I had a friend tell me about a week ago that her financial advisor was flying into town, but he had to land in Monette because Aurora's landing strip wasn't long enough. So I don't think, I think that was an issue maybe years ago. I think maybe Aurora's out of land for a longer strip, so I don't know, you might keep that in mind. Because that does, if a company's looking to come into town, I remember when my brother was in real estate, he said, that's one of the first things that big companies look at is, can I land my jet and get in and out of that town? Let's see. Now, I'm here because when I was at that last meeting, I listened in on a park board meeting, and the city manager, when I gave all these reasons, it agitated him. He wanted to get home to his wife. He said, you're just gonna have to take it up to the city council, so that's why I'm here today. So,
Okay, I want to be respectful of your time.
Yep.
There's no one else that signed up, so I'm gonna give you a couple extra minutes.
Okay,
if you kind
last
of-
page.
Great.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Do you have someone in charge of trying to recruit companies into the area? We used to have a committee of business people, bankers, at least 25 years ago, I'm thinking of. And someone said that's the city manager's job to be looking, and I don't know if that's in his job description, but whatever. Especially if you're trying to promote the downtown project, the community needs more jobs, also more support from the community. I have hope and faith that if we get a new administration at the higher level, things will get better. And I did thank Jason with the city. He came and put a culvert in for me at 828 Rinker. But that water problem was caused, and this is another problem I think the city needs to keep in mind. Every time a street's resurfaced and it gets higher and higher, it causes a water issue in some of the yards. So, okay, my time up, basically.
That'd be fine. Okay, do you mind, can you send those questions to me in an email?
Yeah, I was gonna tell you
I'd
guys.
like to kind of respond to you, but this wouldn't be the right
No,
avenue.
and I want to make sure that I write some of these down and then just make a copy, and it probably won't be, they'll just be handwritten. I won't be typing them or anything, and I'd just like to hand them to each of the, councils, just so they can look at or whatever, just so.
However you want to get me the
Okay,
questions.
all right.
Once you do, I'd like to respond.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on to council forum, Mr. Pro Tem.
Had a key decision group meeting, first one we've had in probably, I don't know, it's been maybe 5 or 6 months. Kind of discussed the layout of the new equipment and kind of the quantity and structure of how that's going to look. And then after that, we got to go take a tour of the rec center, and it looks amazing. We were all here, so.
Sir.
I was also at the tour of the rec center, and I will agree, yes, it looks amazing. It's really coming along. And then I was also in attendance at the Drive for Downtown golf tournament. So a lot of excitement down there for everybody. Happy to see stuff and work going on into our downtown.
Awesome.
Okay.
And me is just the rec center. That was amazing, as we said.
Rec Center as well, and I was hoping to give this to the advertiser. I'm on the board of Solid Waste Management, and they are going to be doing a pesticide and herbicide cleanup or a collection. It's the Saturday after Labor Day. I'll give you this, and it's at the Extension. What do you call it? The Extension Research Center off of H Highway. And anyway, it's kind of a big deal. There's a limit of how much you can take, but if you have Roundup or something like that that you want to get rid of, you don't want to use anymore, it's a good place to go, and they will appropriately dispose of it. Do you want this?
Great. So also attended the rec center, and thank you for putting that together, John, and Stephen for the information. Really enlightening and great to see. Like I mentioned, I had spoken to Carrie, called to just get her thoughts on, as we start this downtown effort of rebuilding, if you want to call it that, downtown, it hit me that we really need to focus on the cleanup as well. And these buildings that are aging and being used as storage, and I don't think there's any shortage of examples, but folks with holes, leaving holes in the buildings and then kind of trying to walk away from them, right? And so I was happy she was already way ahead of me, of course, like always, but and had been working with our new attorney Nate on some ideas of how to tackle some of these problems. So it was great information to hear. I guess I just want to really be proactive in that area and not be afraid to put resources into that, because I feel like we will need to if we are going to continue to invest in the downtown project. We can't allow some of these things to continue the way that they have been, and so any ideas that anyone has, let's start spitballing some ideas of ways to tackle these problems that we have. Carrie's already has a number of ideas, but let's kind of collectively share some thoughts of things we could do to be creative. So pigeons was just kind of the tip of that iceberg. So it was, obviously been a problem for a while, habitat, right, for pigeons. So holding folks accountable that have broken windows, and I had a thought of, instead of plywood requiring even plexiglass, I think it looks a lot better than the plywood, right? It doesn't make it look so dreary, but I don't know if there's a huge cost difference there, and either way, as long as we're getting those taken care of, I think is key. Maybe it's a planning and zoning item. I don't know, but think about it. Start thinking about it, and we can brainstorm together on some things. So that is what I had. Moving on to the consent agenda, which will be the regular session minutes along with the work session minutes from August 13th, along with the August 2024 appropriations.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. First up is old business 7.1, second reading of ordinance 2024-3328, financial disclosure. Any questions about this, council? No. I'll make a motion that we approve second reading of ordinance 2024-3328.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, I would like to make a motion that we table 8.1. There's a scheduling change, conflict with this, and we would like to table it, make a motion to table this until September 10th meeting, please.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Motion passed.
In addition to that change, I would like to add in its place presentation or an update from SAP and the architecture that's here. If you guys are okay to add that this evening, he's driven here and would like to include him in an update for tonight on the rec center. So I'll make a motion that we add SAP update to the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Motion passed.
Okay. 8.1, SAP update. Stephen. John.
Well, Mayor Lewis, thank you, and council people, thanks for the opportunity to kind of let me give you an update on the project. It's the overall project budget, actually. It's not just on the construction side of it. So what you have before you is a very similar document to what we've had ongoing from the beginning of the design phase. The difference in this one is you'll see two columns on the right-hand side of your sheet. One of them says original GMP original. So those are the dollars that we were starting with right after the project had been awarded and bid. And then what I wanted to do is we're a little more than halfway through this project, and we're starting, we've got some built-in contingencies and some built-in allowances and so on. And we're also getting further into the discussions about project expense category, which is equipment and IT and computers and furniture and all those sorts of things. So I thought it was a great time now to try to reconcile those. Let's find out where we're at on allowances and predict what we might need to finish out the project. So that's what you'll see in that right-hand column. It says potential revised. So if we just start at the very top of it, that base price on the GMP didn't change. You'll see the numbers in red. Okay, so the very first number on A is weather protection and temporary facilities. The $100,000 figure you see there, that was part of the original GMP of what was anticipated. Now you're seeing a plug number there for $50,000, because with discussions with the contractor, construction manager, at this point in time, we think that $50,000 that we're plugging in now in red will be sufficient to cover whatever temporary protections and utilities and things like that they'll have. And then when we get to the very end of that, we'll reconcile all of these numbers, but we feel confident that number will carry it. So what we essentially will be doing is we take that 50,000 and we're moving it down to this bottom part of this spreadsheet. And what we're trying to do is hold that very bottom number down in the lower right-hand corner, which is that $12 million figure. So that's going to be consistent as we go through these. The next one is construction phase testing. We are a little bit over on that category. So that number actually went up 5,000. So you'll see that number there in red. Unsuitable soils is tracking to be pretty much that entire value would be spent. Rock and mass rock, those values, you can see that there's quite a bit of a reduction in those. We're past a lot of that. There's very little opportunity left for that to crop up. So we've shown some reduced values there. And again, my goal would be that, at the end of this project, that 208,500 for that little section we covered would actually be a little bit less than that still. So again, that's money that's not being spent, money that will be credited back to you, and it gets potentially put down in this lower category, which is mostly 100% under your control. So the next category is the bid alternates. No changes in those. We've accepted those. Those are under construction, moving along with the rest of the project. Under number 4, it's the general conditions, pre-construction, and the contingencies. No changes in the general conditions at this point. There will be some reconciliation of that at the end, though. But I'm not comfortable changing that value right at the moment. The next one is the cost of the work. There's a value that they plugged in there for that. We believe that number can be reduced from 171 down to 150. You keep kind of tracking down the list. The other two is a CMR contingency, owner contingencies. Those values, you can see the original amounts in the left-hand column, and we think that those values will be something less than the 150 that we've got shown for each of those categories. But that's confident we can get this project done. And again, the whole goal would be, I don't want to reduce it now to then increase it later. So So the revised number there, and you have the fees, so you can see it's $10,365,310, which is what we're seeing consistently on the pay applications. You know, that value being reconciled could be more in the neighborhood of $10,113,838. So roughly that $250 something $1,000 is going to be redistributed down into a category called FF&E. So we get to the bottom portion of it, project expense category, consultant services. That original value you see on the left there, $673,745. That's reduced to $657,399. The others are tracking along. Those are primarily fixed fees. I did plug in an allowance in here. It's called for the additional services. I don't know if we're going to need that or not. That's $20,000, and actually I highlighted the wrong line there. The $20,700 for design services on interiors is that's a fixed fee. So my apologies for that. I can get that updated. So that 20 that's right below that may or may not be used. So that should be red number. Moving on down, the monument sign. You all have a hard price on that now. It's a little less than that 55, it's 54,000 something, but I put in 55. There was actually a plug value in there for 40 originally, so that number did actually go up a bit. And then what I did in order to get the bottom line down there to be at $12 million, you can see before we were slightly over that 12 million. I took that and that number under 5, FF&E, I adjusted that value to $690,863 to get you to that $12 million. So, but everything essentially from item 3 down to the bottom of that sheet is totally in your guys' control on how much of that you spend or how much you don't spend. But there are things that are necessary. I'm not saying that there's nothing there, but that's kind of what these values are for. So it kind of gives you a barometer when we're looking at furniture. Right now there's furniture for the bulk of the building, and then that's one package, and then another package would be some for the office and the administrative area, kind of treated separately. You know, combine that maybe around 150,000. But then there's still other things, like I said, that we need to do. We need to take care of the fitness equipment. There's other miscellaneous accessories, recreation accessories. But like I said, whether it's computers, you know, telephone systems, you name it, it's all going to be coming out of those dollars somehow. But right now, as I look at it, you know, I'm pretty confident in that number there of 690 being able to cover those things, unless we get crazy with some of these things. But again, that's under you guys' control. So the important part of this is we are still tracking at the 12 million. It's not growing. If anything, it could shrink. So that there again, we'll continue to work in the same vein that we have been through this project, just kind of watching everywhere we can, not spending those dollars. And when we do need to spend those dollars, we're making sure they're accurate and as low as they need to be. So I feel like we're in a pretty good position. We're protecting that maximum dollar down at the bottom right-hand corner of the sheet. So, and at this point, it was great to see you guys out at the site and walk through that. You know, once you get the walls up, you get the roofs on, you get most of the infrastructure in there, most of the site work, as you can tell, is done. You know, you start to take a lot of things out of the equation that can change the cost of the construction project. So I think it's a good spot to be at this point in the project. So construction's moving along well. Branco has not indicated to any of us. We have meetings twice a month. We have site visits twice a month. So those have been great meetings. They run a really good meeting. We talk about schedule every time. We talk about any kind of cost changes every single time. So I'm not expecting to see anything change with that as we move forward. So.
Awesome. Any questions? You mentioned changes, Stephen. Have we had a lot of change orders? I was hoping to get I think last time, I don't know if I ever got it, but kind of just a list of, you know, change orders from the original that we all saw, you know.
I don't have that with me tonight, but I can prepare that and make sure I get it to Mr. Holmes, and that can be distributed to you all. So we do go over that. That's an agenda item at every single meeting. They're tracked just all the way through any of the, well, I should say every one of the OAC meeting agendas. It's recording everything that was prior, and it's looking forward to the next couple of weeks on what's happening, so I can get you that information.
Awesome. Well, this is fantastic. That'll be great. Thank you so much for driving down and doing that.
Anything else? Anybody have questions, or no? Okay, well, we'll keep plugging
Yeah.
away then.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Good timing ahead of everything we have going on. That's good. Good news to have. Moving on to 8.2, discussion around City Hall restorations.
Council, as you remember, we put out a request for qualifications last year, and we didn't get anybody that submitted qualifications for architects to take a look at our building. So I came back to you, discussed it, and presented how I had went through the state of Missouri looking at architects, and then looking at architects, looking at their licensures and stuff, and so finding architects within the area of Springfield that we could work with. And proposed the possibility of contacting them and moving forward with having some discussions with them. You guys gave me the okay. We went through a session where we looked at about 3 different architects, and kind of had a matrix where we came up with BRP. One of the big feathers in their hat was that they've done quite a bit of historical restoration on buildings, including the Springfield City Hall there in Springfield. So they come with a lot of good references and that sort of thing, and a lot of good experience. So they came out, and they crawled all over the building, took a lot of pictures, took all of the, we gave them the as-built information that we had about the building, and they worked through that and then provided us kind of a recommendation of things to come back. So as we present that to you, one of the things that we also did was also take a look at, if the council wants to move forward, is that also a recommendation that they provide construction management for this process. The discussion is and Jacob is here from BRB. He'll go into it a little bit deeper. Then after he presents his information, we can have a talk a little bit about the finances and how we can make this happen. So.
Hello, Mayor Lewis and council members. My name is Jacob Nintrup. As John mentioned, I work for BRP Architects, and we have a pretty large category of projects that have been historical renovations throughout the years. So we were tasked with looking at the exterior of the building and kind of going over what all City Hall needed in order to look its best and make it back to its glory days. With that, kind of the main categories that ended up popping out as the biggest problems were the entry stoops. With that being said, the stairs, stucco, the terracotta on the building, the brick in general, the entry ramp into the basement, and then the railings and downspouts. The entry stoops, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, are a very prominent, important piece to this building. It's what makes it. And they're in pretty poor condition. The steps themselves are really bad. The stucco on the walls around the step is really bad. And I'll talk a little bit more of that in the stairs and stucco section. But then the columns around the entries, those are actually in fairly good shape. There's some minor damage that has been caused by freezing and rain, just from age. And then the lights on the columns, or on the walls next to the steps, I'm not sure of what condition those are electrically, but as far as cosmetically, they were in fairly good condition with minor repairs needed. The stairs themselves, the north entry, so the main entry off of kind of your plaza, that one is by far the worst condition. It will need significant chunks of the stair completely removed at this point. and repaired and replaced. Within the rest of it will need some minor patching. The west stair, the northern section of that will need to be removed and replaced, within the remaining of the stair receiving light patching. The east stair, both kind of wing steps where they kind of turn around the corner, both of those have kind of broken free from the main stair. While they are still mostly in one piece, they are kind of floating and will need to be removed and replaced so that the stair becomes one again. Other than that, it will also need some minor patching. Once the stairs have been patched, we recommend coming in with a polymerized cement. You will apply this over the entire stair, and that way it gives the entire stair a holistic kind of cohesive look. But in addition to that, it protects all the patching and repairs that have been done and prevents water from getting into those patches and breaking them right back out. In addition to that, the basement stair right there under the north entry, it is also seeing some, one of those steps is pretty crumbled and would need some repairs to bring it back into spec. The stucco itself, the basement walls, they're actually really good. There's some minor cracking that has happened, but nothing substantial that just slight repair wouldn't fix. The cheek walls or the walls on either side of the stairs, those, especially below the top, have basically all the stucco has come loose from whatever the wall is behind that, assuming it's concrete of some sort. And in many places you can see it's actually just falling off at this point. And that is holistic for all three stairs. The back side of the building at the south entry into the basement, other than that crack up at the top, it's in pretty good shape. So that up high where that stair was removed once upon a time, that concrete needs repaired and the stucco repaired there. With the stucco, it would also we would want to apply a new coat of stucco on the entirety of it to patch any cracks and repair, and as well as repair those other damages. That way, all the stucco looks the same, and then provide a protective coating against the stucco for the future. The terracotta on the building, that's kind of the bands above all the entries, it's in great shape. It is dirty. But overall, there is very little to the terracotta pieces themselves. However, with that said, the joints and the mortar joints are starting to crack and fail, which starts to put those into a little bit of danger of damage. We recommend with those, A, cleaning them, B, pointing all of those joints, particularly the head joints or the tops of those pieces, because that's really where the terracottas are the most in danger of getting damage due to water coming down the face and into those cracks. Terracotta is one of those things, especially in these old buildings. You want to keep it good because it is really hard to replace. Finding people who can make it, it's kind of a lost art. So you want to make sure it's protected. Once it's been repaired, at that point we would want to have a waterproofing coating applied, sealer, to seal the joints and the terracotta to prevent against future water intrusion and protect those blocks. The brick itself, the brick is good, however, the whole building is starting to show signs of needing to be tuck pointed. Of the building, about 25% are in desperate need of tuck pointing. These are areas where right now it is potential for water intrusion and water getting into the building. Those joints protect the brick and keep water from getting into the building. We recommend doing the entire building, mostly so that it looks the same. I know, as you can see now, there's been places where it's been patched and the mortar looks different. And you will always be able to see that unless you do a full pointing, which is removing a third of that joint and coming back in with new. This also protects the brick against movements in the building. If it's all the same mortar and all the brick moves correctly as the building is intended, it is less likely to get damaged. In addition to that, it also prevents 3 years from now, oh, we need to tuck point another section of the building. And then 3 more years from now, we need to tuck point another portion of the building. That way it just gets it all done at once, and you're not constantly having construction on the outside of the building with scaffolding. Once all those repairs are done, we recommend washing the brick and then sealing and waterproofing it as well, just like the terracotta. The ramp down to the basement, it does not meet ADA. And it also is seen some better days. It has that big section out of the middle where I think a drain was replaced, and it's just gravel right now, which is potentially a problem and makes it difficult for people to get down that entry. We recommend on that fully replacing it. Just tear it out, make it meet ADA standards, and you never have to worry about it again. The railings around the building, at the stairs, they're starting to show signs of some fairly heavy rusting at the base. Most of them feel fairly solid right now, but it will be a problem in the future. In addition to that, there's about 3 different railing styles around the building, from pipe to actual like steel, like black pipe connections, like threaded connections type handrails, to painted, to just all kinds of different stuff. With the rust damage that we're starting to see with that, we recommend just this way all the railing matches. It kind of gets rid of that kind of hodgepodge look that they have right now, and also makes the building a little bit more safer by having secure new railings. The downspouts themselves they appear to be in fairly good condition. However, they will have to come down to do the masonry work. And if you've got them down, you might as well clean and paint them and make them look good at that point. From what we can tell, there's very little damage to the downspouts themselves, but it doesn't hurt to give them a fresh coat of paint and cleaning. That is kind of the main focus of what we looked at with the entry stoops, the stairs, the stucco, the terracotta, brick, ramp, railing, and downspouts. There are a couple more items in our cost breakdown, because we did do a cost breakdown of what we thought it would cost to do the whole scope of everything we talked about. And it is much more detailed in the report that I have sent to John. With that being said, our estimate for the overall repairs is about $600,000. Yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
So scope 1 is
And
3
so
and
that's,
2.
yeah,
One's 400, one's 600?
Yeah.
Scope 2 including scope 1?
Scope 2 includes scope 1.
Gotcha. So
Yep.
it's not a million, it's 600.
Right, correct,
Okay, or just shy of it.
yeah.
I don't have it in my packet. Oh, yeah, it's not in the packet that Kim emailed. Okay.
It's in the packet.
The one that she emailed, I'm on it right now, it's just schematics.
That is the
I'll go back to the other one.
one I think I had as well, the one that Kim sent. Okay. So you mentioned in this, the one question I did have, just because you mentioned that the lights you thought were in good shape
Correct.
cosmetically.
Cosmetically. I do not know.
Is this the one that, the stair lights, is that what you're referring?
Correct.
Because okay.
Yeah, and I think in our overall, we also talked about a couple of the wall packs in the estimate. They're kind of dated, and if you're updating,
27,000 seems really high for electrical for 6 lights. Help me get there.
correct. I don't have the exact number on that. It's one of those things that it is so incredibly specialized in how that works, that is one of those numbers that is trying to make sure it's covered. It very well could be less than that if it ends up being that the wiring is in good shape, it just needs a couple, and some new sockets, and you're good to go, then it'll be cheaper than that. However, if it may be the case that a whole new set of wire needs run, and it's kind of hard to fish those down through all that, and so it could get complicated really fast. Those unique features like that, they get expensive if they need anything.
So is our thought process, though, eventually we're gonna do all of this? So I'm wondering, because we need to for future generations, not for us. But maybe there's a safety ranking that we say right off the bat that the stairs or trip hazard or the ramp is something that we should start off first. Or if any of those pieces are going to fall down and actually
Right.
hurt somebody, that would be.
There's
I would say
no
just, if you can hold your thought a moment, and we'll talk about financing here in a minute.
When was the, excuse me, when was the last major overhaul of the building? I mean, it's been quite a while.
Mid-90s.
Okay.
Did you have any more questions for Jacob?
I don't have anything questions for him, but on the heels of the discussion of the downtown and pigeons and keeping property up, I feel like our hands are tied of we need to do something,
And
some kind of plan.
I'll be talking to that in just a moment.
Okay.
All right, yeah. If no other questions, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate you.
Council, as you look through this, all of those issues are pretty serious. These are things that obviously need to be addressed. Talking to Eddie and then talking to Jacob and Chris, the thing that we know is that inflation has been slowing down, but we know that the prices right now, and when I talked to Chris about it, that he was pretty solid on the prices. But I would say that overall, we've had some surprises with some things coming in. So as much as I would like to really stand on what Chris says, because he's the expert and the architect, I would say we may want to be prepared for that. Our recommendation is that we just go ahead and move through, do the entire project. Talking to our financial advisor, Eddie said with our credit rating that we received from Standard & Poor, up to $1 million issuance is a slam dunk for us. It's nothing that we would even have to worry about, is that it would just go right through and stuff. So $600,000, I read that wrong, and I was thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be over $1 million, but 600,000 and stuff. We have that to be able to move forward very, very quickly on issuing the money that is needed for that. Standing from the standpoint of that, there's no reason, in my opinion, there's no reason to wait. We can move forward with it. We'll probably get a better project overall if one person or one company is leading us instead of trying to do a patchwork. Small projects like that, they don't want, but a bigger project overall, I think we're going to be more successful in getting bids and stuff. So with that, what we would be looking at is, council, as you guys know, is that we're our minimum cash reserve is 6 months cash reserve. What that means is that if we had absolutely no money coming in from the state, no money whatsoever, that we would be able to continue operations absolutely undeterred for 6 months. But we're more than that. We're over a year's worth of cash reserve in just the general fund. And last year, you guys, we made some moves that had been unprecedented because of the financial status of the city that has never been done before, is that we were able to put money into investments. That investment at this point in time is giving us over $30,000 on a quarterly basis, just the general fund. Just the general fund is generating $30,000 worth of revenue on a quarterly basis. So if we take that, if we took that and said, hey, we're going to finance that out, even if it was $1 million, and we finance that out over 10 years, that would be to service that debt would be about $100,000 a year, and we would be able to do that with essentially free money, money that we are getting in just the interest that our cash investments are getting us. We wouldn't be touching our cash reserves. We wouldn't be touching our operational revenue when it comes in. We would be able to do that. So that was when I was thinking it was $1 million, but when talking $600,000, we would be able to get this completely taken care of within 6 years, which would be outstanding for us, potentially sooner. So looking at that, that is why I asked them to come back with, in your packet, to do a construction management. If they led us through start to finish, they know the players who to be focused on working with and trying to get bids from and stuff like that. Your staff don't have any expertise in that, but they do to lead us through that process. They would help us with the bid process, help us with construction management on the ground, making sure that everything is as built, the design from top to bottom, start to finish. This would do that. So this recommendation comes to you from that standpoint. So I'll stop there for discussion from the council.
I forgot I did have one question for you. In reading the documents, the stairwell going down into the basement, it's not big enough, and it only has to be extended a foot going north. That doesn't seem like that's much space. And would the design be the same, kind of keeping the same integrity of that, but just making it longer?
So in order to do just the 1 foot, it would have to be a squared off landing.
Okay.
That is the biggest problem with the current mid-level landing, is that curve eats into
the space, square footage, right.
And realistically, the foot is for at the bottom landing. Right now, that door cuts into your clear space that's required.
Okay.
Thoughts, Don?
I think I agree totally with John. Let's do this whole thing and get it going. For me, the safety factor has always been creepy with all the different things that are deteriorating.
And just to clarify too, with looking at all the documents, that's not addressing anything inside. That is just primarily outside structure, correct?
Yeah, the inside is in very, very good shape. Everything that we've, with the exception of some furniture and some rooms, we're all ADA compliant inside the building.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thoughts? I got a couple, but I'm curious of your.
I mean, again, with what we were saying, with if we're going to hold everybody else to standard downtown, we need to be holding ourselves to the same standard. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just now kind of reading. I guess I missed that part of my packet, so I've got the document now. No questions for me at this time.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. I think we should do it all at one time, one shot. I hate that this was deferred by folks prior to us, but it's our responsibility at this point to do that and to lead by example down here. I wouldn't. Is it too much time to wait until budget to talk about a number as far as how we want to go about addressing that? Whether we want to put some in and borrow X, an 80-20 or whatever, and see where we land or what we need to borrow, is that I just feel like this should be a budget meeting discussion as far as how we want to approach paying for the 600 and whether we're putting some in or borrowing all of it. Just a thought, given we're so close and it's such a big amount. I don't know if you have a take on that. or not?
Honestly, since it's not going to affect our operational budget and everything, is that, and it's a definite need. My recommendation is that we go ahead and move forward, because there's still work to be done. There's still work to be done and stuff before we ever get to the spot where we actually have to pass and the issuance. So there's plenty of time to talk about that. Even though if you guys said, all right, go forth, brings back a resolution to pass, to consider and hire them and stuff, there's still a lot of time we can get started now, and knowing that we're probably not even going to be talking about the issuance for probably a few months before it even goes out. It has to go out for bid, and then we get that back, and then we'll issue at that point in time when we know what the hard number is. Gotcha. So we've got a long time and plenty of time to talk about that. So that from that perspective, that's what my recommendation is to direct us to bring back if you guys are comfortable with it, to bring back a resolution to hire them as our construction management to lead us through this process. We'll get that done and squared away and start moving forward, knowing that the other big discussions and Eddie and stuff, we'll have those coming up. But in the meantime, we're still moving forward.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm totally on board with moving forward, as long as we can have that discussion at budget, and maybe present that, as a side note of kind of what that financing looks like and the cost, and if we were to finance all of it or finance 80%, maybe just to give us
Sure.
an idea of what our options might be. And
Right.
The scope of the project, how long would it take to complete that project?
I do not know that
Okay.
off the top of my head.
And I'm assuming because of the weather and such, you probably would wait until spring or something with tuck pointing and all that.
That depends. Mortar the mortar itself requires certain temperatures
Right.
to be done. With that said, going through another freeze-thaw cycle also puts some things like the terracotta at
Right.
risk. But
That's
it's
probably
kind of a timeline. It is what it is. Kind
Okay.
of
I
That's
was
probably
just
one of my
curious.
biggest concerns is that we haven't seen anything that, for the terracotta and stuff, but what if one of those fails? That could be
Yeah.
absolute
I thought there
tragic.
was one that was sticking out,
Yeah,
according to your report.
There's one above the door at the west entry that is
Yeah.
a little crooked. I
Right.
don't know if that is just movement of the building or if it actually is loose.
Loose, okay. I
One
think
other
we need to move forward.
One other thing to keep in mind is that we are having the assessments by our risk management insurance. They're looking at all of the buildings, and so this, irregardless, the roof, the ceiling, the roof was something that we were going to be bringing back in roof replacement and stuff. So just bear that in mind, is that we were looking at that as well, and that we were wanting to see about that. So I look at it from the standpoint of that with the new technology that they have, and talking about the polymer and the stucco and the concrete and stuff like that, is that this building will be on the exterior be as good as new, and will last probably longer because of the new technology, last longer than the 100 and some years that it's been in service thus far.
Great. So how do we move forward then?
We will bring back a resolution
Okay.
approving for you guys to consider and possibly approve to hire them as construction management to
Right.
lead us through that process, and then we'll get started with them.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Moving on to 8.3, resolution number 2024-1992, Recreation Center Monument Sign. Any questions, council?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution number 2024-1992, Recreation Center Monument Sign.
Second,
Motion and a second. Please vote.
motion passed.
Thank you.
Council, I just would like to say, for the purpose of the audience.
Cut his mic.
What's that?
Were you gonna say I was right? I told you
No,
so.
no, 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 I wasn't gonna say that. It's just that I want to make sure that the audience, those watching online and then here, is that has been, that's a $55,000 purchase. However, you guys have really, really talked about it, and for a couple of meetings and stuff like that. I always think it's really good to remind it's not just been something that's off the cuff.
Yeah, and it's like 15,000 over our budget, if I remember correctly, so we really worked hard on that.
But I'll admit it, John was right, so I'll say it so he doesn't have to. So.
I wasn't going to.
8.4, resolution number 2024-1993, Aurora Recreation Center membership fees.
Okay.
Good evening, council.
Hello,
Appreciate
sir.
the opportunity to be here. I have a document I'm going to give to you guys real quick. This is the market study. Just a reminder of, thank you. A reminder of the market study estimates from 2022 for the membership fees. They had both. I'll wait till everybody gets them before I start talking about those. So from the market study estimates, that market study recommended both a resident and non-resident membership fee costs. You can read through that, the punch pass, the daily fees for both resident, non-resident. Those are the same. The punch passes and the 10 pass, those are the same. There's no increase for non-resident or residents. And then the revenue summary down at the bottom. The Schedule A, part of the packet that you have there, is after talking to the park board, having discussions, that's the recommendation that we've brought before you today, is to eliminate the non-resident fee. So there's a couple variables to that. I think that would de-incentivize some people who are not from the community. What I have here that I don't have enough copies of, but from the market study, the market study said that our service area would reach as far as Reed Spring, Cassville, west of Monette, south of Miller, and all the way up to Halltown and just west of Billings. That's a pretty broad area. And if we're creating a different cost scheme for those that don't live within our city limits, I think that could de-incentivize some people from purchasing memberships to the facility. So that's why we're recommending eliminating the non-resident fee. And then we also, if you look at the market study costs, all that they did is they took the monthly fee and multiplied it by 12 to give you the annual membership fee. What we have in front of you is a recommendation to a little bit of an incentive to purchase an annual membership, 12 months in advance. All I did was take the monthly membership, multiply it by 11, so purchase 11, get one free type deal. So just a little bit of incentive.
So help me.
Yes, sir.
Great job. Help me answer the question of why is someone that doesn't live in our town and pay our taxes get the same price that I do?
I think there's a lot of people who come from outside of our community to purchase sales tax here, whether they shop here, they come through here. This is a hub for a lot of people, and I think there's other data to back that up. But as far as that goes, I have had people in my office saying that we should have a non-resident fee. I guess I could be convinced to a non-resident fee, but I just know that the one that's on the market recommendation, I think, is drastically too high. I also think that those numbers, they're estimates of how many people would purchase those. I think at that price, that might be the number might be too high. For example, it's saying 36 people in the household that are non-residents would purchase a recreation center membership that costs over $1,000 a year. I think that's pretty excessive, especially from the membership costs that I've seen. So if we compare ourselves to local facilities like at Monette for the YMCA, I think it's a $69 a month membership for a family. TR Fitness in town, you're looking at $49 a month. $49 a month. So I just think for what we have to offer and what we're have available to us, then I think that what we brought before the park board and what the recommendation that we have is feasible for what we have to offer and what we're going to bring.
Okay. One thing that Anthony also did is he looked at
a lot of different areas around the area, or a lot of different rec centers around the area. He looked at what we have in town and then just continued the circles as it goes out all the way into Springfield. So, and that was one of the issues that we really tried to be cost conscious a little bit, be competitive. We're not the lowest, but we're not the highest either. Then kind of split the difference a little bit. As you guys have heard me say, is that, you know, we estimate our out of town revenue sales tax, which is the biggest driver for us, biggest revenue stream that we have. We think somewhere between 20 and 30% come from outside of town and stuff. And actually, Carrie's going to visit with you guys just a little bit. Is that we've been looking at some marketing location analytics stuff that gives us really gives us pause to think that might be a little bit more, and we'll be looking at that coming up in the future. But we kind of looked at this as that setting this, and then we'll be working on, all right, what is our budget to get that, and then knowing that, as soon as we know this, we know what our budget needs to be as far as revenue, then we're really going to be working on marketing as far as to get members and to reach the revenue streams that we need to get. Questions?
Probably my only thing is nothing for businesses, so if Walmart wanted to join, we wouldn't have like 50 people who get a break or anything.
We had discussed corporate partnerships. We
Yeah.
just have not dug down to a straight.
It'll be based on those will be based on this. This is the foundation that everything else is based on, as far as corporate memberships and things like that.
Anthony has some really, really neat ideas for that. It's just that
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's all a guess until we start getting some real data, right? And so I think this is as close as anybody's going to get, or you know, so.
And
great
what's
job.
really interesting is the data that Miss Carey was going to talk. He's going to talk to you about down the road about
Yeah.
that search is going to be really helpful.
Yeah, okay. Well, I will make a motion that we approve resolution number 2024-1993, Aurora Recreation Center membership fees.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Moving on to 8.5, first reading of ordinance 2024-3329, tax levy.
Who's gonna do it?
It says, well, she's been working with the county clerk on that. I thought she had it, so I'll wing it from here. Council, this is an annual item that comes before you, setting the tax levy for ad valorem or real property for the city of Aurora for the upcoming year. One thing to keep in mind is that you guys have seen this, is that property taxes are one of the smallest issues that we get sales tax from. Out of about an $8 million budget, we only get about $300,000 worth of taxes out of this. So I believe that it went down just a little bit, just a very small increment. But the big thing that we have to always keep in mind is that more rooftops coming into the town, is that helps us a little bit as far as the property tax. But the bigger, as I just said, the bigger generator out of that is that household rooftops, when they come into town, that's people that generate sales tax, and that's over 50, close to 60% of our resources, our revenues that come into town makes our town operate is generated out of 60% of sales taxes. So, but Okay. this is an important part.
And these numbers are passed. Can you just really quickly describe how these numbers come about and come to us? as a
Property taxes
recommendation?
are set basically by state statute is 19% of assessed valuation is how those come to you.
And so from those standpoint, all of those numbers go in. The total assessed value is done by the assessor's office at the county, and they factor that in with everything as far as the population and what the growth can be and different things like that. And so making sure that it stays right at that top level or that maximum level.
Great, thank you, John. So, with
Yeah,
any.
that's not figured out by us at all.
That was what I was getting at, to educate everyone that it wasn't a number we derived. So as with all taxes, we need to enter a public hearing when these come about. So I will make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Lewis.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Uplinger.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilman Blades.
Yes.
Thank you. We're in public hearing. Does the public wish to speak on the tax levy? Going once.
One question that I had is it's January 2024 to December 31, 20. Aren't we almost through all of that? Is this supposed to be for starting in 25?
It's what will be assessed at that time for this time period.
Okay, that cleared it.
Yeah.
Good question.
Anybody else?
To your question is that you submit, for personal property tax, you submit your personal property tax forms to the county, in March?
Yes.
In March? And that does not come due until right at the end of this year. That's for 2024. This is kind of the same thing. It's set and then right for this period of time, and it won't be due until the end of the year.
Thank you.
Does that clear it up?
Almost. You
All
tried.
I tried.
Okay. Having no other public comment, I will make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Lewis.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Uplinger.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilman Blades.
Yes.
You're out of public.
Thank you. Public hearing is then closed. I will make a motion to approve the resolution, first reading of ordinance 2024-3329 tax levy.
Second?
We have any discussion? No. We have a motion and a second.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to 8.6, second reading of ordinance 2024-3329 tax levy.
I'll make a motion that we accept the second reading of ordinance 2024-3329.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you all. Moving on to 8.7, first reading of ordinance number 2024-3330, stop sign schedule amendment.
Council, I'm bringing it up here on the screen so that you can see it. As you know, the street superintendent, myself, and the police chief took a look at adding a stop sign to the intersection of Hadley and Lincoln Street. So that has to be put onto the schedule. We did that under the ordinance that allows us to do a temporary experimental traffic ordinance. So we did that, and now we're just finalizing that. That has been worked very, very well. It has slowed traffic down, and I believe it's been helpful to the traffic there at school drop-off and pickup time. So I was going to see if Wes had anything else to add, but he must have snuck out.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2024-3330, stop sign schedule amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passed.
Maybe that will help me remember it is there. Next up, staff reports. John.
Actually, Wes didn't have anything to report this morning. Things have been kind of quiet. I'll knock on wood for him on that. Fire, the fire chief has stopped the bleed kits. Those have been placed in all city facilities. Fire staff will begin conducting fire extinguisher inspections on a quarterly basis for all. They're inspected annually by the company that we get them from, but they are also doing quarterly inspections on them as well. It's significant, some of the trainings that fire staff have gone to. Fire Officer 1, confined space training, hazmat training, and then fire staff will be attending trench and collapse training in coming weeks. Chief Hurd, commend Chief Hurd on really stepping up the training that a lot of his staff have been going to. As Jason told you earlier, paving is completed. Mowing and weed spraying is continuing along right-of-ways. MoDOT has been in and hit their streets and mowed in their areas along Church and then also on Elliott Street and then K Highway. They've been working on striping and pavement markings in several areas. They've put the crosswalk in the areas around Hudson Street behind the hospital, and so we appreciate them getting that done. We're also looking at signs, and we will be bringing back a ordinance establishing that pedestrians have the right-of-way in that area, and that motorists will be required to stop in that crosswalk area behind the hospital. Jason will be scheduling leaf pickup dates, and we will begin advertising that soon. Cemetery has been assisting the street department with mowing and some other items as they've been busy. The park, there's been minimal mowing at this time since it's been so dry. They've been finishing up dead tree removal in White Park, adding sidewalk to White Park Pavilion to make sure that it's ADA compliant. As far as the rec center updates, none at this time. Things are going along pretty good. A couple things there that you see all the different things that have been going on at the rec center and that Anthony has been working on. A couple items of note is that he's been working with Silver Sneakers to get them online when we open. We are looking into state child care licensing requirements for some of the programming that we're wanting to do, after school program, summer day camp, Friday drop off, inclement weather drop off, a few different things like that. Anthony's been working on facility handbook and then drafting forms for uploading into DaySmart. New items, the rec program coordinator, we received 9 applications and we will be scheduling those interviews pretty soon. Working on bids for equipment for the fitness areas and then working on promotional items for advertising. Facility rental fees will be discussed at the park by the park board and their recommendation will be brought to the council at the next council meeting. Annual line preventative maintenance is continuing with the wastewater. Fall preventative maintenance and winterizing is beginning, and then the annual I&I work plan for this winter is being finalized. Bids will be coming to the council sometime this fall. Many of us will be going to the MML conference September 15th through the 18th. If you don't have a ride, I know that there's several city vehicles going. If you don't have a ride, contact me or Kami or Carrie, and if you want to just ride with some of us down in city vehicles, just give us a holler. There is parking, pay for parking down there, so we just need to keep that in mind. Staff are being scheduled for flu shots, and that also kind of brought up a interesting discussion about making sure that all of our staff have tetanus shots, especially for the public safety and trades. Something was said about city hall staff, and paper cuts can be brutal, but we didn't think we needed them as much as some of the other staff do. So, employee health health insurance. All of that has been taken care of, and all the staff are all signed up, and that's been completed for the year. Tentative fence plan has been submitted to the school district for their discussion at their September 9th meeting. Lawrence County Extension Office, Lawrence County Economic Development Summit, that's tentatively scheduled for September 3rd. A downtown cleanup is scheduled for September 7th. Aurora Downtown Project Community Survey is due September 9th. And the annual City Hall carpet cleaning has been completed for the year. Carrie has several other items of interest for you guys, so I'm going to hand it off to her to finish up.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna do the dog swim this year? We'll close the pool?
Yeah, but I don't remember exactly when it is.
Okay.
So Trav has your number. I'll have him send you a text.
I just want someone to inform the public.
Okay.
I'll see it.
Very good.
August 29th from 2 to 7.
Look at that. All right.
August 29th.
Awesome.
That's this week.
So make sure that we get a Facebook post out on that.
Okay. Is that where you saw it?
No, you text me,
Oh.
because AFB gives dog collars and stuff.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, make sure you tell them thank you. Next.
Council, I actually just had a couple of things. The remainder of the several, so this morning I told John my list was long and he said his hand hurt, so, I have just put some additional information in my general updates in the community development, economic development report that you guys get in addition to John's. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to ask. But the two things that I really wanted to tackle independently were the Downtown Cleanup Day by Aurora Downtown Project. We did not bring this to you as a special event application because it was basically the board members just saying, hey, we're gonna do a cleanup day. Is it okay if we do this? Is it okay if we do that? And it quickly gained a lot of traction that we weren't really expecting. And they have a long list of people that have signed up to help with this, and it's kind of growing and getting a little bigger. So for that reason, I just wanted to bring it to the council this evening, make you aware. I know you've probably already seen some posts about it, but they got such great response that I think we're gonna have a lot of people turn up. Doty's have donated some dumpster, you know, the small poly carts to utilize down through the way. They've had some weed killer and spray and things like that donated by MFA to take care of some additional weeds behind buildings in the downtown area. And they've been having conversations with property owners to ensure that they're okay with that kind of stuff taking place. And a lot of them are kind of buying in and saying, hey, we're gonna make sure we're here to help too. So with that being the case, it's not really a special event. And again, we didn't expect it to get this big, but I just wanted us to have a conversation for the record and ensure that the council didn't have any concerns with that. They're not asking for any city staff help. They're just asking for volunteers, but I, of course, will be present and dragging some people along to help as well. So any concerns from the council on that? Okay.
Fantastic.
And then the other thing that I wanted to address with you, we had planned to send an email out about this, but John asked me to just touch on it real quick this evening. So we've had some software called Placer AI come before us, and I've seen some stuff about it for several months and had done a demo on it previously. And then when I went to the Main Street Conference, had conversations with 3 or 4 communities that have been utilizing this software, and it's just mind-blowing to me what it can do. So it's location analytics is what they really term it as. But the reason why we wanted to let you know about it this evening is because it has so many more things to offer than I realized until I went to the conference. When I came back, I asked John to sit in on a second demo with me. I had done one initially. I did a second one, asked John to join me for that, and I had Anthony sit in on it because I thought there might be some things that would really benefit the recreation center and really all of our departments. With that being the case, we did that demo last week, and John was really excited about how far this can go, to the point that we would like to bring it to the council, and we're scheduling another demo of the software, and we would like to invite the council to join that. So right now we're looking at September 3rd at 3 p.m. And unfortunately, I can't get an evening time for that. But what we're hoping is just to invite you guys to join in on that demo if you'd like. We will obviously put out an agenda, have Kami do so to the point of having a possible quorum. But it's not anything mandatory. It's just if you're interested in seeing what this software can offer with us, we'd love for you to join us. What this is going to tackle is several different areas, some of which I'm very, very passionate about, so I'll try to keep it short tonight. but retail analysis and recruitment. So we've talked a lot about feasibility studies, market studies, that kind of thing. And we've discussed that those studies sometimes can be $25,000 to $45,000. And sometimes, depending on the types of data that you're looking at in those, they can expire in about 90 days because that's a moving target. One of the things that this programming does is it allows us to go in at any time, real time with a subscription. We can click on a property, and I can go so far as it will tell me these retailers within the United States want a building that meets this square footage. They need this kind of requirement. They don't have another one that would be cannibalizing their own market within so many miles. And it drives me all the way down to where we have an ability to go seek those retailers or those wholesalers or those industries, whatever it might be. We can forecast revenue with this. We can do event analysis. So if we have an event that takes place in the middle of Madison Avenue, we can come back in 4 days, draw a square or a circle where that event was, and determine how many people were there. So this uses data analytics and location analytics via your cell phone. And we can tell that there were 352 people here, and they came from Miller, Mount Vernon, Carthage. All of them were from Aurora. We can determine all those things. We can use that within our parks. We can use that at our rec center. And we can even determine identify a lot of leakage. So in other words, we can see that 45 people are going every Tuesday to Republic. Why are they going there? We can see that they went to their rec center for this class. And then we can say, hey, we have a need for that, or we can provide that here. We can determine our trade area. So we did some comparisons in the first demo. The second one was really eye-opening to me. It showed that we're actually pulling a population of equal to 11,400 and some to our Walmart, where our population is 75 to 7,800. And so it really shows a lot of those kind of numbers. They are an approved software and reporting company for grant writing and other communications. So we could utilize numbers from them in grant applications to help secure some additional funding.
Carrie,
Visitor-
what's the name of it? I'm sorry.
Placer AI.
Placer AI.
Placerai.
Okay.
It gives us visitor metrics, like I said, how far they've come from. It gives us the peak times. We have more people in town on Tuesdays at 3:45, and we can determine where they're going and why. We can look at 2 retailers in town and see this one gets more than another, and those kind of things. So that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg on all the things this can do. And so, like I said, we just wanted to let you guys know that we're looking at it. This would be like a 2 to 3 year contract subscription type scenario, and estimated, I don't have final numbers yet, would be less than the cost of one of these feasibility studies.
Okay.
So that's really exciting to me that we could have our hands on that all the time.
So who would mainly utilize it? Would be your department?
We're actually
or-
talking about all departments, so there's
Okay.
no limit to the number of users that can utilize it. It's unlimited users for the city, as long as we're the primary entity or the only entity
Okay.
with a subscription. We can do traffic counts as well. So we've actually talked about, Travis can see what parks are getting the most usage and when, what an event did in a park. That could be helpful to the park board too. Anthony could use it for recreation center things to get information about that. They've even used an example of when they were getting ready to tear a bridge out in a large community. They could determine by traffic counts around that bridge area what the best route or detour was for that project when they decided to pull it out. So I think it could help transportation. And then clearly,
Wow.
my department would use it a lot. And then, of course, the forecast revenue, being able to see what percentage of our taxes are coming from elsewhere. John can utilize that for budgeting and all of that. So I believe we would all utilize it, and the majority of our departments would get some benefit.
And this came out of Missouri Main Street Conference, is that right?
I actually heard about it prior to that,
Okay.
and I did a demo prior to. I was really excited about it. I kind of approached John about it, and we just didn't really go anywhere. I went to the Main Street Conference, and I spoke to 3 communities that have been using it, and wow, their
Okay.
feedback was incredible.
Okay.
So that's when I came back and said, hey, John, let's really, really look at it.
Okay.
And there's a,
Let them know that it, even though it tracks that, there's no personal identifiable
Correct.
information in any of it that, I don't even think they collect that necessarily.
They don't,
But
right.
you definitely don't have access to that, so it just blurts on a map, it doesn't show
Right,
who's actually going from A to B.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
we
of
don't
the-
get any identifying information or anything
Okay.
personal like that. It's
That's
just,
okay.
it's just GPS type analytics from location tracking.
couple of the other communities around us that are using it, Republic is using it, Springfield is using it, Willard is using it, and then a whole host of communities down in Arkansas and
Bolivar, Excelsior Springs, there are several there was a couple of those communities that actually did presentations at the Main Street Conference that are big proponents for it, and that was really a game changer when I saw their information. So,
Good
like I
job.
said, September 3rd at 3 o'clock. I'm trying to schedule that. It's not, some of you are looking at me like that might be a conflict already.
Yeah.
If I need to readdress that, let me know. We're just trying to invite you if you can, and if that's a date that doesn't work and somebody really, really wants to be there, let me know and I can talk to him to reschedule.
Does anybody have a conflict with that date or anything?
I can make it work.
I know I have a conflict, but,
Okay.
I mean, that's
And
okay.
we do, so I do have copies of the slides from the demos we've already done,
Uh-huh.
and he recorded our last one, so
Oh,
I'm happy to
okay.
share that if you'd like to
Okay.
watch it on your own as well.
works.
And then if you have questions, I could always take them back to him after.
Okay.
the reason we wanted to do this is because it's significantly complex enough that Carrie and I are just scratching the surface of what it can do. So we wanted to open this up to you guys. Like I said, it's not mandatory. We just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to take a look at it so that you can have a better understanding of it, because we are wanting to come forward with it and to make that request.
Okay. All right.
Just talking to our resident IT council member. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Exciting. Anything else? No? Okay. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.